My name is Claire. Last month, my husband Chris and I finally bought our dream house. It's on the edge of a very large forest, and I love it. It's a little paradise hidden by large pine trees that grow on the premises. I honestly don't know where my backyard ends and the forest starts. When I lay in bed and let the sounds of the forest sing me to sleep, I feel truly at peace. That house is everything I've ever dreamed of. I'm a musician, and usually I work from home. So for me, the transition out of the city and work into the country wasn't too big. My husband, however, had to quit his job. He gave notice last week and still has one more week to go. We had to leave our old apartment a few days ago. So, for the time being, Chris stays with a friend while I have already moved to our new house. This week, it would just be me and our 2 dogs. Now, the situation by itself is not for the faint-hearted. The woods can be scary, especially at night, and it gets pretty lonely out there. But as fate will have it, this week, some strange things have started to happen. It all started on Sunday. I was unpacking boxes of our books with CDs. By accident, I opened a box of Christmas decorations. Chris and I decided for our unused stuff to be stored in the basement, as it was just a cement hole anyway. A cold, windowless room, not much bigger than a walk-in closet. I walked down the wooden stairs and dropped the box in the corner. When I noticed, there was a small hatch on the wall under the staircase. Initially, I got really excited, as I thought it was a safe or something. But then I noticed there was only a latch on it to lock from the outside. I wondered if it could be a door, but the opening was quite narrow. A small person, such as myself, would maybe fit, but say, my husband would have trouble fitting through. Stepping closer, I noticed a small plaque that said, "Keep shut at all times." Naturally, I opened it anyway. It was really dark inside, and the light from the basement was way too dim to light it at all. From inside came a clicking or snapping kind of noise, not quite rhythmic, but frequent enough that I thought it may be some kind of machine. I didn't dare sticking my head or limbs in fear of getting electrocuted or cut in half. So I shut the hatch and resolved to take a look when I unpacked my flashlight. The following days, things got pretty weird. On Monday, the dogs were going nuts. As soon as the first one stopped barking, the other would start again. They were just barking into nothing, dark corners or the ceilings in rooms that weren't lit. Tuesday, the dogs fortunately had quieted down. However, that night, while making dinner in the kitchen, I heard the same clicking that came from the space behind the hatch. It originated from the corner of the living room that was only barely illuminated by the light from the kitchen. I approached quietly, but when I was about to flip the switch, one of the dogs flew past me and barked at whatever was making that noise, and the noise stopped. I turned on the light, but nothing was there. When I called Chris that night, I told him I thought we might have an infestation of some sort. Then, at night, things got really weird. I was in bed, sleeping soundly, when I woke up from one of the dogs scratching the door from the outside the bedroom. I cringed as I heard its nails drag across the fresh paint, but I couldn't be arsed to just get up and let him in. Almost immediately, I drifted back to sleep. That morning, one of the dogs decided to pull me out of my slumber by aggressively licking my face. I groggily pushed him off and pulled the sheets over my face. When I remembered the scratching, I cursed and hastily got up to check if he ruined the door. But then I noticed both dogs were in my bedroom. Whatever had scratched the door last night was not one of my dogs. Oh, and I did ruin the door, by the way. Nice. Also, when I went down for breakfast, I noticed the bowl of dog food was completely empty, even though I had just refilled it the night before. When I called Chris that evening, I told him I thought we might have an infestation of something big. You might think that I would have been scared at this point, but I hadn't quite connected the dots, and we live in an old house, so I figured anything was possible. After calling Chris, I sat down with a book and a glass of wine out on the porch. Despite it being November, the weather this week was quite pleasant, and I loved feeling the cold breeze across my cheeks as I tucked under a warm blanket. I hadn't really noticed how exhausting this week had been, but not 10 minutes into reading, I fell asleep. It must have been past midnight when I woke up from the motion-activated lights in the backyard switching on. Half asleep, I turned to look, and what I saw shocked me. Wide awake, about 30 feet away, stood a tall, slender humanoid figure. He was hunched over as it drank from the bird bath. We had just put it in the garden a few days ago. For a few seconds, I just sat there, frozen in fear, watching it drink. The creature had long, thin limbs, and its skin was pitch black, like a shadow that just rose from the pavement and became a person. It seemed emaciated. The bones were sticking out so far under its dry skin, it looked as almost it was gonna pop out. And when it rose up, its face, God, that face will haunt me forever. Its clouded gray eyes lay way too deep in its skull. The worst part, though, was the mouth. It was so big, it had so many teeth, it was somehow contorted in what almost seemed to be a smile. And it was looking right at me. For a second, I thought that was the end of me, but then it just backed away into the darkness. As it sunk into the shadows, it became immediately invisible. I heard the leaves rustle further into the woods, and it was gone. I locked myself and the dogs in the bathroom and quietly cried until sunrise. I eventually gathered up the courage to get out. That was this morning. I called Chris and told him everything. He said he'd come over ASAP. He should be here before dinner. I decided to unpack some more boxes today, to take my mind off of it all, and also because I didn't want Chris to know I'd been off of it all week. But while putting more boxes in the basement, to my horror, I discovered the hatch was all the way open. I definitely closed it Sunday. I'm 100% sure I didn't lock it. Whatever was in there, it's out. So please, just help me. I'm really scared for me and for my husband. I don't want to see that thing ever again. But I don't want to move either. I can't move. We sunk all of our savings and then some into this house. Can anyone tell me what to do?